Hi, y'all. Girl, I am at a hotel because it's been such a crazy, oh my gosh, it's been such a crazy month. But because they're fixing the plumbing at my house, that so we're at a hotel for like 2 days. But I was in Vegas this weekend, getting my entire life in Vegas, which is why I'm so sleepy, right? I got my entire life in Vegas. First of all, I don't like Vegas. It's not a thing for me. Uh, and I went to the Usher concert. When I tell you that I got my entire life for that Usher concert is the best thing ever. Like, ever, 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 ever. And we are planning a trip to go back because he's going to be here till October, November, right? So totally planning another time to go back now. My girlfriend, I don't think she's going to want to go. But I was trying to get my husband's not a big Usher person, but so he's clearly not going to go. Honestly, I can go by myself, but it just isn't. I don't know. I have to think about this, but my godmom's saying she's going to go. So I was thinking about just maybe, I think I may end up renting. I'm not probably renting a room. I'm not sure. I have to think about this. I probably am going to fly there and fly back out. Like, it's just so good. Anyway, that's not what we're here for. We're here for one purpose, the Queens of R&B. And I say this with all respect. There's so much respect on this. And it's not to say that I have a problem with a particular person or anything, but I am going to make it absolutely clear, real talk. Um, is I'm just trying to think about my dog right now. I think I may take my dog with me. Anyway, real talk. Um, I watch the Queens of R&B, and I actually do. I'm getting distracted because my dog is like whining and stuff. Anyway, um, so um while Tasha is in Nashville, she meets up with I think it's Taj, and they go and she shows her the significance. She's a part of the museum and all this other stuff, which I think is nice for them to kind of understand how significant Escape is. She tells her this is let me tell you, honestly, there's not much that I want to get into. There's actually three major things I want to talk about. She tells her that she's meeting with Motown. Let me tell you how effed up Tasha is. Tasha and her husband. And this woman tells a member of SWV that she is negotiating a deal, right? The innate gall that she's going to tell No Shade, a stranger, and not the members of your own freaking group, that you are going to be trying to deal with a music deal, a single deal, and and Candy has to hear from a member of SWV that her group member is planning on is was in Nashville to get a a a a, a, a solo project going. And then on top of all of the, if that wasn't insulting enough, then Kandi tells the other members of the group that she's doing a solo project, and I am with Tiny. She's making up all these excuses. She's him-hawing all because she's trying to get a deal. And then Tasha has the innate gall that I'm just going to keep it to my chest and not tell them because until everything's done. So you are in the recording studio, recording songs while you are letting Xscape sit on the sideline saying that you praying. I appreciate Kandi for trying to get people to buy her album and listen to her music and stuff like that. But F that. I think that is so wrong. It is wrong. It is rude. It is irresponsible. It is self-centered. It is not sisterly. It is foul for you to go and make other arrangements, because that's what you're doing. You're making other arrangements outside of Xscape. Xscape sitting up here like, well, maybe we're going to get this together and it'll just, so Kandi, it definitely insinuates that they're going to move forward with the group, even if she's not a part of it, which, duh. Anywho. And Kandi at the end, Tasha, now let me get into, now that I am on Kandi's side, I'm also now going against Kandi. The end of this show got me hot. And my mother is here with me. And, she's older, I get it. But she don't remember, like, I played SWV's first 2 to 3 albums out so much that I had to buy them again when they became a CD because they were only out on cassette tapes. And it was TLC and SWV that I kept playing over and over. Ooh, on the TLC tip. And that first SWV album with Weak. And I was telling my mom that Weak was my song, and I didn't travel a lot as a kid. Like, my kids are always with me traveling, and they don't and I didn't get to kind of interact with a lot of people from a lot of different places around the country, like a lot of kids. So, and honestly, we didn't really talk about music because when we were kids, we weren't allowed to bring music to school. So when I left elementary school, music wasn't really, as highly discussed. Definitely junior high. So and then people kind of, by junior high school, you kind of go to your little pods and you listen to music based on your friends and blah, blah, blah. So by the time I was in high school, SWV and Xscape has been kaput, right? And they weren't as big of a deal. Monica and Brandy, but Brandy's Full Moon came out my senior year in high school, and that was just the top, right? But Monica was my jam when I was a sophomore in high school. Her album came out, her second album came out, I think, when I was a senior or a freshman in college. Get to the point, Liz. So I was like, Mom, you don't remember? How do you not remember? Right? I don't get it. I was playing my mom some songs. She was just like, yeah, whatever. I was like, but you don't understand. SWV is in the top 5 all-time best-selling R&B female groups. Xscape's not even on the list. Now, we could talk about Kandi and Tiny's writing cred because they've written some of the biggest hits for female groups ever. I am there with you. I get all that. I accept it. I'm giving flowers. But when we're talking about a group, there ain't no way in hell that Xscape should be headlining above an SWV. That is some bull-ish from the ish of the ish. It is impossible in this realm of reality to think that SWV would come second to Xscape. I don't care if, look, let's put it frankly. Kandi and Tiny is the reason why SWV and Xscape has a show together. I'll give you that. Part one. Kandi and Tiny with this show is the only reason that Xscape has this kind of notoriety that it's having and resurgence at this point. Tasha would have no singing possibility of going, being a single artist if it wasn't for Kandi or Tiny reviving Xscape, right? Really, it's Kandi reviving Xscape because she was cooling y'all. Okay. Point blank, period. SWV does not need this show to sell tickets to go to their shows. They're not in dire need at all. Okay? Okay? Okay. So Kandi, you wrong, you dead wrong. Co-lead, same font. And don't be cleaning up talking about, we respect you, we look up to you. Scratch all that. Fact is, people have consistently been seeing SWV for a minute. Y'all still can't get y'all group together. And y'all talking about headlining. And then Tasha's tentatively, I don't know if I want to put, why don't you just be honest? People don't like a dishonest person. And your husband is, and I'm not even going to talk about the mother. I'm not going to talk about the mother because I found that scene, yes, tears, and that's nice. She said everything that she should say. But honestly, I think you saying all this because you don't want her to produce the receipts for you getting some of this money that was taken from Tamika. And you don't want her to do anything to Tasha because clearly you favor her and you just saying all the things that you want to be said. So I'm unimpressed with that by far. The last thing, yeah, so when he made a comment, okay, when Tasha's husband made a comment, yeah, you gonna go there and take the mic and remind them who the hell you are. That was a quote that I wrote down. And I said, now this person, I am all for pumping my spouse up, but you doing too much. And it's just rude. It is so, you're encouraging her to be rude and disrespectful. And I am struggling because before you came along, it was them. But I've always, my friend I went to high school with, unfortunately, her and I don't really talk anymore. And her mother sat her down when she was in junior high to tell her, like, hey, some of your friendships are not going to go as well because there comes a point where your girlfriends are going to start choosing a man over you. And I mean, and when she told me that, I was like, wow, in high school, I was like, well, that's kind of jacked up, but I get why her mom did that. And I will say that is a genuine conversation I think moms should have with their kids. Anywho, so even though they've been together and even though it's like sisters, real talk, many women are going to choose their dudes over their friendships. And there comes a point where you are supposed to put your wife, your spouse over your friendships for sure. And, in some instances, depending on the circumstances, your family. Not 100% of the time, but in many cases. I need to pause the recording. Hold on, y'all. Sorry about that. And I'm not editing that out. My kids ugh, are being kids. Okay. I knew they were going to convince my mother. My mother took them downstairs and they were only supposed to go downstairs just to pick up um the iPad that they left in the car. But I already knew, and a charger. And I already knew that they were going to get my mother to do more for her, more for them. But anyway, so with that being said, the last thing is, and I'll end it on this kind of sad note. um, the whole crying thing with the brother with her son, um, when it comes to SWV and they were dealing with the son, he doesn't want to go back to school, Coco, and Coco's like, what are you doing? You going back to school? Here's the thing. I'm on both sides of the fence. I would hate for my kids to drop out of college and talking about, oh, I'm gonna just make my own way. And it seems like a lot of boys do that more so than girls, but I would so hate that. So I am there with her when you have a vision for your kids, and man, they're doing everything in their power to not execute that vision. It is frustrating, depressing, sad, and overwhelmingly ridiculous, right? I say all that. To also, on the other hand, if you have a child that is not really feeling school and they're in school, they're not going to do well. So instead of trying to push them into a space where they should be doing school, which is what you expect of them, I think you need to rethink this and be like, look, so that's why I don't mind the gap year. Because what you're going to end up doing is that it's not going to necessarily make them miserable, but would you rather pay for D's? Like, what are we doing? Like, you want to get paid you want to pay, you want them to pay for like a very ridiculous, you want to pay for some really ridiculous grades and for them to get a degree in something that they're not going to really want to deal with and be used and utilized. So I get both sides of this story. So I do like the fact that they're compromising by giving him a gap year, because then it's the best of both worlds. My freshman year, at the end of my freshman year in college, I was so depressed. I always wanted to go to Syracuse. Don't ask me why, but when I was 13, it was Syracuse. And then when I got to high school, I was like, okay, I'm going to go to University of Oregon. I don't know. For whatever reason, I really wanted to be a gymnast. Like, I was really going to make the gymnast team. I was not good enough to make the gymnast team for sure. But I was like, oh, I could totally do. And I was actually thinking about doing rhythm gymnastics, transitioning to rhythm gymnastics, because I was really good on the trampoline. And the trampoline and the floor was my thing. The beam was a little bit, that's not the point. The beam and the vault was a little bit complicated for me. I felt I really like the even bars, but that's not for women, it's for men. Well, what was my point? My point was that by the time of my year, the last semester, my freshman year, I did really well in school. School was going well, but I was depressed. I literally slept. I played spades online for hours, and then I slept and did homework. I mean, that was my entire existence. And like, people would come over and they were like, what are you doing? Sleeping. And I actually did not gain weight in my freshman year, because I'd work out at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And then my sophomore year, I so at the end of my freshman year, I was like, look, I got to get up out of here. So and I think I probably could have done things differently. I met a guy my freshman year, first semester, like a month and a half into school. And I was just like, okay, and we actually became boyfriend and girlfriend on Halloween. And I was like, yeah, we could totally be boyfriend and girlfriend. And I was just like, but this kind of sucks though, doesn't it? Like my freshman year, I hook up with a guy, and then I was like, I want to be single and free and mingle. So we broke up about a month and a half later. And then I met another guy, and then we dated, and then we were supposed to be together. And I was like, that was a disaster. I should have dropped him. And I didn't, that was complicated. But a year and a couple months later, I did eventually it was on cue. Every time I tried to dump him, he was just like, it was like he knew I was on the verge of dumping him, and he would say something like, oh, Elizabeth, I love you. And I was just like, dang, I can't dump him yet. Point is, so I actually transferred to University of La Verne my second year. And I was going to transfer to Howard or Syracuse. And I actually got offers from both of them. But my anticipation at the end of my freshman year was that I was not going back to Pepperdine. And so I gave up all my scholarships and everything. And I shouldn't have. What I should have done was I should have took a gap year and went someplace else and came back, and I would not have given up anything. And so that was my fault, completely and utterly my fault. I did not think about it, but also my mother didn't really have the experience and wherewithal to tell me that that was even a possibility. And I didn't even sit down and talk to anybody. I just unenrolled myself. I was like, I'm done. And so, I definitely did not think things through, but I was also 17. And so I think that young people, as much as, I say this now, much older, young people don't have the wherewithal to know the kind of consequential decisions that they're making. They're flimsy decisions that absolutely has a huge impact on much of the rest of their life. They just don't know that yet. And I think that it's their space and time and wherewithal to make those kind of decisions. So with all that being said, I have a good day. I think this show is so good because it keeps unopening up different things, and it's only episode, what is it? Is this episode 3? Lord, is this episode 3? We only have 6 episodes in this whole thing. And that's not fair because this show is just so, 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 so good. And it's tapping into so many good things that we absolutely need to talk about. But we shall see what happens. And I will see you all next time for, oh, I need to stop babbling. But one thing, I am going to watch the Omarion show. I just have not. So I am going to watch the Omarion show. I am going to also watch the gospel show, like I said last time. I'm going to watch it tomorrow because I'll do a review on that tomorrow because I know it's going to be entertaining. And I did watch the Carlos King interview with one of the stars of the show, and I have some thoughts on that. So I'm very interested. Cannot wait to see you back here tomorrow because I am totally doing that review. Bye.